Me.
All right, I'm just gonna start the
Yeah.
recording, just so
All right.
yeah. But I am No Chill MMA. I'm joined by former UFC heavyweight Jared Vandeera. How you doing today, good sir?
I'm doing all right. Just kind of chilling. I had to take the day off. So I'm here doing that.
I am interviewing you just for like a couple of reasons. There's some very interesting things going on with your career, but I also wanted to get your perspective on kind of like the current state of heavyweight because it's under like a lot of critique. And I would kind of like want to know from a guy who's been there, fought in the UFC. I was looking at the roster. There are more ranked heavyweights than unranked heavyweights. And I'm working on a video right now trying to catalog every single prospect at heavyweight right now in America, in the entire world, and America's kind of in like last place. Why do you think we're not seeing a lot of American heavyweights start careers or start trying to fight professionally?
Oh, that one's easy. That is actually a lot more of an easier question than you realize. Heavyweights get paid more in different sports. NFL, MLB, NBA. If you look at the average player of those, they're about 200 to 220. They're all about 6 foot and up. They're all athletic human beings, but they also go, even if they love MMA and let's say they're good at baseball financially, if let's say they like liked baseball or loved baseball financially, that would be the career to go because John Jones, Tom Aspinall, the big names, they make a lot of money, but they're still not bringing in Tom Brady money.
No, of course.
And I mean, granted, Tom Brady is like, the greatest, but you look at John Jones, he's the greatest too, despite, the flaws. And, you know, Tom Brady's what? Worth like a $500 million at this point.
No, I heard the Fox deal was like something crazy, like $50 million a year just to broadcast or some crazy shit like that.
Yeah. So I'm just saying, like, the money for bigger dudes is in other sports.
But
Like,
we kind of like we used to see more. Like it's just the roster. So 29 active heavyweights. It's the smallest division in the UFC. By I mean right under women's bantamweight, which is at 32. It's like I feel like watching for a long time. We used to see more guys come up through the ranks. Like you used to get your like even guys outside the UFC, like your Cole Conrads, your undefeated prospects who were just like out there. We don't really get that anymore in America. You think it's just like kind of the inflation hasn't matched the inflation of the country.
well, that, like, again, like, for fight, like, bigger guys, the pay is better in other sports, like, hands down. Now, smaller guys, they're going to have that. But there's a few things that come with heavyweights that, like, I think the UFC's maybe looking for right now is I think they're chasing after the lucrative lower numbers, like
Yeah.
your 13 and threes, like people that have really like inflated records and stuff like that with very minimal losses. And that's cool and all, but at the same time, it's also not realistic. With heavyweights, I've seen like technically non-skilled heavyweights, but with their strength, their power, it becomes a quick equalizer, and you're getting guys that are skilled but get knocked out, or you're getting a dude that's knocking everyone out, get caught once, his chin's never the same, or the hype goes away. And like, what's that big kickboxer dude
Oh,
that
there's Jahan to the knees, maybe.
no, he went in the UFC and got the fuck out.
Oh
He's a
fuck.
Taekwondo cat.
Oh,
Oh,
Robellis is Spain. Robellis,
yeah.
yeah.
For example, blew smoke up the dude's ass.
Yeah.
He was in the UFC and quickly out of the UFC. Or like, who's that to blame? Is that the UFC's fault for rushing him too much? Is it Robella's fault for accepting all the fights too fast? Or is
Well,
it
well, with that type of guy, like he was pretty old already. So I mean, I kind of get it, but at the same time, it's like, why cut him? Because he is still very, very exciting. He was like 3-2 when they cut him. I just don't really get the philosophy behind trying to not have like a deep division when there is, I mean, fighter pay, that's a whole different fucking can of worms because I think fighters are, I mean, it's if you, I'm sure you've seen the number compared to the NFL and the NBA and everything, the UFC has the smallest revenue share. They pay 16% of their total revenue. Meanwhile, NFL, NBA, and even the hockey pays closer to around half of what they actually bring in back to the athletes. So, I mean, UFC kind of fucks every. I mean, but it's also like a paradox because that is the place where if you want to make money, that's where you got to go. So,
Yeah. And now and they're kind of relying on here's the one thing I hate about being a fighter and I also think this is something with the heavyweights and especially the heavyweights in the UFC, they're boring as fuck.
there's some guys, there's some I don't like to critique, fighters too much because I mean I used to train. I
What
don't
I
train
mean
anymore.
by
But
what I
like Martin Boudet and our like yeah, it's just there's some shit where I'm watching I'm like, don't you want to win?
no. We're not talking about skill at all here.
Yeah.
We're talking about personalities.
Oh, true. Yeah.
But think about it. Name a heavyweight that is exciting to listen to. Let alone watch, but exciting to listen to after their fight.
Yeah, that's I mean fucking just Derek Lewis. That's it.
Exactly, just Derek Lewis. And if
Yeah,
you
that's true.
notice, if you've watched Derek Lewis's few fights, they stopped giving him contenders. They're giving them guys that have decent records. They lost their first one, or they had an easier win in the UFC, and then they immediately get Derek Lewis.
Yeah. Well,
They're,
yeah. I mean,
it's
UFC matchmaking, I mean, it's definitely fucking, I mean, it's its own, it's tough. I mean, I really love MMA, but I've been watching just like Japanese shit more than I have UFC at this point, just because I can't stand some of the decisions that they make. Like, I think the average fan is definitely starting to notice a little bit of like a decline in the product because they're not really evolving with the times. Like, you gotta go back to maybe, telling a story with your fights and stuff like that. It's been the same thing for ten, almost a decade, and it's not really. I really like you fought in the Apex before, right? Because you were around in the COVID
yeah.
era. How do you feel about that shit? Fighting in front of like no fans, no crowd.
I don't mind it. It's especially kind of coming back on the regional scene. There's a little bit of hey, I kind of like these smaller crowds, and it's not like no fans. It's just not hundreds of thousands of fans. It's
Yeah,
about a couple hundred, and a couple hundred's cool, but I would rather have thousands. And at this point, I don't mind it if it's for a fight night. But honestly, we because of everything kind of picking up, I'm glad that we're seeing less and less of the Apex.
yeah,
And honestly, I feel like next year it should be on the road completely, and the Apex should be basically used for shit went south at one venue, and they are trying to salvage the show type of thing. I feel like
yeah.
that's where.
Well, to your point, I feel like being in the Apex, like you're not really cutting a promo in front of like a giant. Like most of the people there are like they're these influencers and maybe some family of the fighters, but it's not like a live crowd will is fucking vicious. They'll
Well,
tear you apart if you're boring, like if you're slow in the cage and if you're not cutting a good promo, they'll just boo the shit out of you. So it's definitely you got to be forged by iron in front of a live crowd. I think that helps guys, and also like if you're cutting a promo and it's in front of just 300 people at the Apex, you're not getting the most out of your mic time. As if you were like, what kind of mark can you make? Unless you're Michael Chandler, right? What kind of mark are you gonna make if it's like, there's no the UFC could have you in front of 15,000 people who are all gonna hear what you have to say, or it's like, you're gonna hear your voice echo off the walls. I never like that. I think MMA should be done in front of a crowd. But I wanted to talk about that, you with the UFC. So it seems like you came into like this crazy fucking issue with some regional promotion lately, and that shit kind of just like caught me off guard because what you were saying was just completely ridiculous. I mean, you were kind of like negotiating with them. You were like, "Oh, I shouldn't have asked for the title." Well, I'm like, you are a former UFC heavyweight. You're on a 5-fight win streak, most of them by finish. I would assume they would kind of want you in that title position. What happened with that shit?
All right. So this one's there's a lot to unpackage on this. So the let's talk about the title thing. The title thing was I'm at so I'm at a point where I'm just kind of waiting to either get called up to a bigger show,
Yeah.
and but until then, for me in California, they've just passed a MMA retirement thing.
Okay.
So I have to have a set amount of rounds that I'm scheduled for. And I decided that, or I didn't decide that I only have like 13 more rounds. So
Okay.
I wanted a 5 round fight. And the way you get 5 round fights in the regional scene are titles.
All right.
So now I kind of had a feeling the heavyweight uh, title holder for the show wasn't going to defend his belt. So I was basically asking him, can you either strip him because he's not going to defend his belt, or two, like give me an interim title,
You don't have to say what it is if you don't want to, but this is like a bigger regional show, or
it's there's not a lot of regional shows in California, so I'm kind
yeah,
of going
there's
to
Anthony. What is it? There's APFC and Uriah Faber's stuff, which is both cool promotions.
yeah.
So yeah,
Anthony Pettis' show, I think, might come once. Like California only has like 4 or 5 big shows.
yeah.
There's not a lot. But then I got offered the pay, and the pay didn't bother me as much, but it was a combination of the pay and the opponent. Like the opponent wasn't some dude that's going to be a like there's certain people that you're gonna fight that's gonna be a fight. This dude was a fight. Like he's not gonna be I'm gonna walk through him. I have to
Okay.
really train. I'm gonna actually have to put money into everything versus if I'm going against someone that is okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like
I mean,
he's
there's really there's barely. So I assume it's like some foreign, fighter that, comes into the UFC. I mean, comes into, the United States regional shows because you do see like a lot of like big Russian guys come over
yeah,
and decimate like the older shows.
yeah. No. He's from a bigger show and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he was part of the Bellator name, and with the Bellator and PFL, all that shenanigans. I don't know what happened with his
All right,
contract.
so it is like kind of like a bigger name dude that you were
He,
kind of
he,
fighting. Yeah.
exactly. Like so, for the first offer, I was like, you could fuck off with that. But also, my other thing was, I'm not a heavyweight anymore. I'm walking around 230, 235. I
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
a light heavyweights that are officially bigger than me.
Yeah.
And I'm
That's
like,
crazy.
if you a light heavyweight, so the fuck am I. Like, there's no way you're walking around 245 making 205. And then I'm calling myself a heavyweight. Fuck that shit. And it's also kind of the reason why I'm like, and I told the promoter, I'm like, yo, I'm not a heavyweight no more. Fuck, like, you want me to fight a heavyweight? Like, I'm not a heavyweight anymore. Like, you're gonna
Yeah.
have to pay me a lot more
We
now.
just saw, have you ever heard of Roque Martinez? He was from Guam. He's
Yeah,
big Guam dude. He just cut down, right? He fought at heavyweight his whole career. He was a stocky
yeah.
dude. He just like fuck it, I'm gonna start cutting weight. He just fought at 185 in Japan.
Oh, sweet. Good for him.
So I do see like there like a stop. That's another fucking thing that definitely I've noticed. Like Frankie Edgar in the lightweight division today would just look so small. Like the guys are getting bigger. What's that? Rainer de Ridder, the Dutch guy. He's 170. He fights at like 211 in cage because California released it. I'm like fucking 211. Are you serious? At
Yeah,
welterweight? That's fucking crazy. So you see a lot of like bigger guys kind of like have to move down or, then you see, light heavyweights move up in the UFC now and not do so good because these guys are massive. These guys are
yeah.
massive dudes. And it is crazy to me that so I mean, what was the fucking issue? Like, why wouldn't they want to just give you the why wouldn't they just want to make the fight if they could?
Well, Again, it came down to the financials. They're like, yo, you couldn't, like, I was asking for too much money.
Yeah,
They did come back with a 5-5 offer, but it was like 5-5, but it was still a 3-round fight. And for me, that was kind of like the big deal breaker was and again, this is where I have to take the blame. I should have pushed for a 5-round fight. But I was also just, I'm not feeling the heavyweight anymore. Like, the dude was like, had a cut to heavyweight.
yeah,
I mean, he cut maybe less weight. I would have had a cut if I was going to 205. So I'm
yeah.
like, nah, I'm good.
Fuck yeah, fuck yeah. That's fucking. I mean, yeah. You see a lot of guys like walking around at like 235. Like Islam Makhachev, like these dudes off of camp, they get so big. I'm just like fuck. Like it must be so hard if you're trying if just to like go in there naturally and compete. Like
Okay.
everybody's enormous now.
Now okay, I'm walking around 230.
Yeah,
I know lightweights, fucking lightweights that will shoot up over 205 pounds
yeah,
and have the fucking audacity to bitch that we are in two separate weight classes. I'm
yeah.
like, bitch, you officially went heavyweight. I was like,
So I have a friend, right? I'm not gonna say his name because I'm not gonna embarrass him, but he's a younger kid, right? And he walks around 163, fights at 155. I told him I was like, dude, you're gonna get and his opponent was like he was making his debut. I was like, his opponent was like a good guy. He's like the 6'1". I was like, you're gonna get fucked up. You're gonna get fucked up. And I mean, he was good. Like he's scrappy. He's got good skill, but he got fucked up, right? So are you looking at like a move down to 205?
well, I'm looking to move down to 205 just because it's right there. Like, I hate fucking weightlifting. If you want to know the truth, I hate weightlifting. If you ask me to pick
Yep.
up a weight, fuck that.
Yeah, I
Listen,
agree.
I will drill. I will fucking spar. I will take all the classes you want. You ask me to lift the fucking weight, I'd rather just get kicked in the balls. Like, I hate
Yeah.
weightlifting. So what's easier? Weightlift to combat some of these dudes or drop down to a weight class where I'm already on par?
Yeah, I mean that would make a lot of sense. So if you were to kind of come back, and you know what I also noticed, like UFC hates to take like bigger guy. I never see like a real big guy leave the UFC and then come back. They're not they really are not like because of the way that contracts. I guess well, I mean you would know. You know, the more you're tenured, you get paid more. At least that's how it used to be. I know Overeem and Arlovski towards the end of their career were making fucking like crazy amounts of money compared to what
When I
top
fought
contenders are like,
when I fought Orlowski, I knew he was making over $250,000 on our fight.
which is fucking wild because you got guys in the top 10 who aren't making that. Like it is pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah,
But
but I mean, in fairness, he was a former champion.
yeah, no, I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it. Of course he fucking deserves it. But I'm
Yeah.
just like it's the UFC, like they cut Overeem after one loss, right? They cut
Well,
Arlovsky.
there was also see, like this is the one side that a lot of fighters will not talk about.
Yeah.
Most fighters are fucking difficult to work with.
Yeah, we see that with these kind of like I mean, I think fans are starting to notice that just because like the divisional changes that we're seeing, we're like seeing guys take a belt and then leave and then go up or then like we are seeing like a little bit of frustration from that. But elaborate if you want.
Oh, okay. I give it from two, three different perspectives. I myself am a coach and a gym owner. And I could give you how I deal with coaches or how I deal with fighters as a fighter myself, which I deal with them differently when I'm coaching them and when I am a business owner. And no matter how I deal with them, fighters are a lot.
Yeah,
Uh, Most fighters won't act like they are hard to deal with. But I've I've had fighters leave my gym because I am not calling them or texting them to show up to practice.
Nah, that's just fucking wild. That's
I'm
pretty
like,
fucking wild.
they're like, you need to text me to show up to practice. What? It's not my career. I'm not the one going to get punched in the face for you to not to show up to practice. That's on you.
Dude, that's the most fucking childish thing I've ever fucking heard in my entire life.
What
That
was
made
it?
that's fucking wild.
Oh, I've had people get mad at a coach because this is a professional class. This was a pro class
All right.
with a bunch of pros. I had a bunch of pros go and cry to the head coach because one coach was incorporating cardio in their class. I
What wasn't your fucking so he was mad that he had to do cardio? Was
no
he
no
was
no no no
all right.
a whole fucking class literally went up and they were like, "Why are we doing this? We do cardio on our own time. We shouldn't be doing it in pro time." I'm like, it's a pro class. When the fuck did cardio not be associated with a pro class?
So you brought a coach over to just to teach and your the guys at your gym were just like, no, we don't want to fucking do the I mean then again, man, I don't want to do any fucking suicides either, but I mean if you're gonna be a pro fighter, you gotta
You gotta
fucking
just suck it the fuck up.
yeah, man. Your coaches are trying to help you from getting fucking beaten up. That's kind of what your coaches are really doing. They're trying to prevent
Oh,
you from getting beaten up.
oh. They said, I don't know how to escape a front headlock. We don't need to be doing cardio. We need to learn how to escape a front headlock.
Yeah.
My statement was, you should know how to escape a front headlock before becoming a professional fighter.
Yeah, well,
I'm
so
like,
wait,
that's
just
a
so
you
when you
fucking
say a pro
problem.
class, you mean these are all fucking like pro
These,
fighters with
oh,
that's fucking crazy, dude.
oh,
That's
no.
fucking wild.
That statement came from a current UFC fighter.
Yeah, I got no fucking I know one guy from America and they all seem like fucking awesome dudes,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
But I have
I
no
don't know.
fucking clue who that could be. No
Yeah.
fucking idea. But that
Yeah.
is the
No,
most ridiculous fucking thing I've heard all
no,
fucking day, dude.
I looked at
Insane.
him. I'm like, you fucking with me, right? He was like, nah. I'm like, all right, that's cool. That's gonna be between you and yourself. But that's one of many instances.
Yeah.
You're just
That's
like, the fuck. What was it? Being a coach. Some of the reasons fighters did not train, and I also have a lot of no sympathy for a lot of these motherfuckers because I used to have to like bust my ass to get to practice. I
yeah.
used like I grew up very poor, so I walked everywhere. Like if I wanted to practice, I had to walk. No one was going to give me rides. I walked. So I would walk two, sometimes three, four, up to 12 miles to practice.
Yeah. So
And
well there's your cardio.
well, yeah, like when
Anyone
I
ever put you in a front headlock on your way to
yeah,
practice?
but like when I
Yeah.
lived in Vegas for a minute, my car broke down.
Yeah.
So instead of crying about it, I either rode a bike or I walked to practice.
Yeah.
And so nowadays, like when I hear people that live like 3, 4 blocks down, like I couldn't make it to practice because I didn't have a ride. I'm like, bitch, jog. And I'm like, I have another student who literally does sprinting. He'll sprint. He was like, oh, I made it in the gym. I was like, I ran 8 minutes, or I was doing 8 minute 3 miles. So 24 minutes took me to get here. I'm like, oh shit, good for you, my guy.
Yeah.
And other ones are like, oh, I missed the bus. I couldn't walk it. The
Yeah,
fuck?
That's fucking. I mean, I mean, they definitely probably have different ideas of what they want. I mean, it's kind of crazy that they're both ultimately chasing the same thing because you got to be fucking disciplined unless you're John Jones, which nobody else is John Jones. You got to be
Yeah.
fucking ultra disciplined to be a fighter, right? So that's just fucking crazy to me. But since you're going down to light heavyweight, are so and also like the California rule thing, did they not like? Does that kind of like disregard finishes? Is it the amount of fights rounds that you're scheduled for, or the amount
Oh,
that you actually compete in?
okay. So the California MMA retirement fund basically, I think it's like something like 47 scheduled rounds or something like that.
Yeah,
And if you're scheduled a 3 round fight, but
you
you
get
finish
three
in the
rounds.
first round, you still get credit for all 3 round fight.
Okay, good. Because I was gonna say that shit
Yeah.
would be fucking loony if it was otherwise. But I mean, now that I got your kind of like opinions on the state of current heavyweight, I want to ask you a little bit about your career. I was just watching some old fights. I saw you were in fucking South Africa. What? Like you were in South Africa. Went to EFC, which is for those who don't know, that's where Cameron Simon, Dricus Du Plessis, a bunch of other guys came from. How does an American heavyweight 5-0 or whatever you were at the time. How does he end up in South Africa fighting for UFC?
They hit me up. That's more or less it. They hit me up on Facebook to fight their heavyweight champ. I went down there and technically I lost the fight. I I was against Andrew Van Zyl, but Van Zyl, the president, everyone that watched the fight genuinely thought I won. But after the fight, instead of like being an asshole and be like, "Oh fuck you, judges," I'm just like, shit, I should have, killed him, and like I should have finished the fight if I wanted to win, and that's on me. I knew what I got myself into,
Yeah,
but they treated me really well. I will not talk down to EFC. I have the utmost respect for them. That's where I've met Dracus multiple times. I've met his brothers. Um, like I actually had some fun times in South Africa. Uh, Fought in the jungles of Sun City. Like, yeah,
yeah, that's fucking cool.
happened and it was a good time.
Damn, that's awesome. So, are you looking to stay? I mean, so you don't really give a fuck if like a foreign promotion reaches out, like you're there, you're good for that.
Oh yeah. At this point right now, if I fight locally, it's going to be just for my retirement in California, or it has to be a city or state that I want to fight in.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense.
Yeah, like for me, I've never fought on the East Coast,
Okay.
and I wouldn't mind. I would like to fight in the New England area. Like I think that would be cool. I've never.
There's a couple of guys in New England right now, but I mean really not. I mean just America as a whole, we don't really got too many big guys coming into UFC.
Yeah,
So I mean, foreign promotions is it's kind of where it's at, man. There's a lot of heavyweights on there. Like it's just different because if you go to if you're fighting Europe, like if you're a European guy and you're coming up, you got all the guys from Russia, you got all the guys from Europe, you got all the guys from Northern Asia, and all those kind of guys that you could fight, you could develop against. But in America, it's just kind of like, yeah, we got a bunch of young prospects who either they really wanted to do MMA and they're just bigger guys without athletic backgrounds or they, did a different sport and now they're coming in to fight. And it's like they constantly are eliminating each other because we don't really have a lot of depth to the division, which kind of sucks. But you are on a 5 fight win streak, so that's kind of like that's a big deal, right? You're a UFC fighter on a 5 fight win streak. I would expect probably a bigger promotion to reach out to you probably sooner than later because that's like a name value thing. Like it's good. It's very good. Now, I did tell you I was gonna have some stupid ass questions. So I do have some fan submitted questions that if you want to answer them, you can. But when I say they're stupid, I definitely mean it. Our audience IQ very, very subjective,
as
but that's all
MMA
right.
MMA fans IQ is lower than the average
Yeah.
person as it is.
Yeah,
Like
probably.
my God, like you'd be surprised how many people do not know the rules of MMA.
No, I
Like,
know. I know, man. I do use so sometimes like I go on YouTube and I'll be watching a fight, but I'll be live. Like sometimes people will send you like $5 or they'll donate to you like just like any YouTuber, right? But then you'll get some dude in here who's like, why doesn't he just fucking kick him in but not even joking. He's like, why do they not ever do low blows? Why do they not ever do headbutts? And like, can you please just show the fight? Show the fight on screen, please. Please show the fight on screen. Like you'll get that shit 24/7. I'm like, dude, you are here. You're watching two grown men compete in a cage, right? You have the intelligence to understand that. I mean, some people think WWE is still real, so fuck do I know, right?
Well, I mean, the thing about like hell, even WWE, it's like there's a level of realism to it, but there's
Yeah.
also a level of it's scripted. Yeah, they take extra precautions of when they slam, how they fall. There's practice behind it. There's also they do communicate with each other, but there is a degree of it being still painful.
No, sure. Yeah, 100%. 100%. But it's not fucking real. They got fucking undead people hitting each other with fucking steel chairs and then they're back the next fucking day,
Yeah,
dude.
exactly.
I don't know how there are grown people. Whatever, man.
I like
I've met some people. I've met some people
oh
in Virginia.
I totally understand. I
Yeah.
100. You're like, oh, you're one of those people, and
Yeah.
so I'm ready for that level of stupid.
Yeah.
Hit me with those
So
questions.
we got our first question from Matua Sablon. He likes to say, all right, this has nothing to do with MMA. Is it okay to, he didn't specify what about, but he said, is it okay to lie to a girl on the first date? He wants to ask Jared Vandeera, a former UFC fighter, that question.
I mean, most likely you're going to lie regardless. Why?
True.
Because most people, when they first meet someone on the first date, they're not bringing, they're bringing their A game plus more, and you're fluffing up a lot more of your personality. And even some people will argue that's a lie. So that's a viewer discretion answer because it's going
Yeah.
to be based off person to person.
Yeah. My next question, I mean, this is an interesting one from Quantum MMA. He's my friend in India. Wants to know which your hardest fight was, what opponent you thought was the hardest fighter to compete against. You've had a lot of UFC fights, so this is something that I'm interested in as well.
That's a weird question because hard will be a subjective thing because there's also a lot of like what's happening in the background.
Yeah,
Uh, During my UFC career, I like the first half of it, I had me and the wifey. She got pregnant, and I had to take her to the hospital a lot because she had very bad complications.
yeah,
So after practice every day, I was going in every practice, taking her to the hospital, doctors, making sure everything's all right with her and the baby. And I really didn't do a lot of recovering. And so during that, my UFC career, I was taking a lot of fights without necessarily, giving myself the proper time to recover and all that stuff. And a lot of those fights did not go my way, even though there were plenty of times or even moments where I could have turned the tides. And because I couldn't really I can't truly give you oh, this one was hard
yeah.
because most of them I couldn't even give you couldn't give it my all either. But some of the fights that I would say hang heavy on me the most is my Chase Sherman fight and my Arlovski fight. Chase Sherman, that fight bothers me not for anything I did. It was for the lack of something I didn't do, and that bothers me because I didn't do it at the time, and like I understood why I didn't do it, but it still bites me in the ass.
That's actually a great question. What was it like fighting Arlovski, dude? Because that I mean, my favorite fight of yours that I watched. I mean, I think that Olynyk fight was fucking sick. I thought the grappling exchanges were really fucking awesome in that one. The Olynyk fight was definitely just the coolest. But fighting like a fucking legend like Arlovski, like and did he feel just as strong as like a normal big like active heavyweight? Like what was that like?
Honestly, I understood why he had the fastest knockout for the longest fucking time. I understood that. I will say, when it comes to the hardest punches that weren't thrown as hard as they looked, Orlowski.
Yeah,
Like I
at 40 something, Arlovski.
old man strength. I don't know what.
You fought Tafa. You fought Tafa and you beat Tafa in a crazy ass fight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
but
wild.
Orlowski was the only one that I was just like, ow.
Damn.
Like out of all the punches, and I've been hit pretty hard. You've seen some of the people I've been hit by. They're not, they're not throwing softballs.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, Toffa hit fucking hard too. What surprised me was how dense that motherfucker was. I grabbed his leg, the leg didn't move. I was
You're talking
like,
about Tafa or Arlovski?
Toffa.
Oh man, those guys from Australia. What are they? They're Maori, right? The Taffa Bros. It's like, I don't know what they are either, but they're all big. Those fucking like
Yeah,
Samo those Pacific Islander dudes. They have like
they
dense
they
ass
built different.
bones.
That
They
they
got
built
dense ass
different.
bones. We need to see some of those fucking guys come into MMA, man. Where are the new Mark? Well, I guess the Taffa Bros, but where are the rest of them? Bring the whole fucking island, man. That would make MMA heavyweight really fucking fun.
I'd be scared.
Yeah, man. You ever see Haku? Haku, he was a wrestler. He's a scary motherfucker. He bit a guy's nose off. Imagine that dude fighting. That should be
No,
sick.
we don't need someone taking noses.
No, yeah, probably not. What am I saying? But
Fucking
by the way, because I was like I commented on your Instagram, I was like, man, Ryzen should just sign this guy, right? Because you're having these fun fights. Ryzen needs heavyweights. What do you think of that kind of like rule set in America being some say watered down compared to what they think like real like soccer kicks and stomps and shit. Like, are you down? Are you game for that type of thing?
oh, if I could fight Risen, I would for sure do it. It's
Yeah,
in Japan. Of course I will. I'm a
yeah,
massive fucking weeb, so yes, that naturally would be yes. Uh,
dude,
I
Rise, dude, they would fucking. I've just heard only good things about them. Only good things I've heard
I've
about them.
heard, I've heard good things about them too. Um, w- with the rule set though, I like it. It I think we do fine with America. It's just another rule set at the end of the day though. Nothing like
So you
I don't
don't think like the knees to the head and like this? You don't think that's really like super game changing?
it would just make like for the fights themselves, yes, but for the fight fans, I don't think so.
Okay, that's an interesting answer. Because you do have very good grappling, but you're not. Well, I was gonna say like grapplers like when they shoot for takedowns, like people like to argue like Khabib and Makachev, like there would be those knees on the ground that would stop them. But you're more of like a cage, kind of trip them down, take them down, submit them, or pounce on them. I just watched the fight with what's his name, Alexei, some jacked little Russian dude. I just watched that fight. Your grappling's improved. I mean, I would say that in your past five fights, you look better than you did in the UFC. So where's kind of like the next step? Is it just like, hey, fucking, I don't really care. Give me fucking whoever in California. Let me get my rounds in. Let me climb. Like, are you trying to climb back to the UFC? Or are you just like fucking whoever wants me could fucking pay me and I'm there, I'll show up. Like, where are you at mentally with that?
It's a weird one because I I myself as a person as a fighter, I am that person that says yes to everything. The reason why I made the video about the last one, that was a hard thing for me to do.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you did, man.
The reason why it's a hard, like I am the dude that will say yes to every fight. The reason why I fought Olenek on a weak notice, I said yes to it. When I was offered Andre Olowski, I was offered it Thursday night before weigh-ins, the day he was supposed to fight. I was like,
Damn.
yeah, I haven't been training as hard as I want to, but I will fight Orlowski tomorrow. And my manager was like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "I will drive to weigh-ins right now." He was like, "Let me do my thing," and then it got moved to Texas. But so that for me to not say yes to a fight is hard. I'm trying to be smart about it. Take fights that are gonna I want to achieve my goals with.
Yeah.
One being my retirement fund in California. Two, getting back into the UFC. Like that is the goal, is to get back into the UFC. But any other bigger organizations, I'm also open to.
Yeah.
And then third, and this is the least important, but it is one. Just if I get an offer to go to a place I want to fight at, that's if you could pay me to go to a place I want to, like Risen, I would love to go to Japan. I
Yeah.
hands down. Like if I fought on one, there's a lot of places I would like to fight.
Yep.
So I'm
I
like,
mean, that's I do got one question because I only have a few more fan questions and then I'll let you go. I don't want to take up too much of your time, but I am just curious about this. Why the fuck? Okay, I don't really get this. Why regional promotions have show win money? Like, come on, that makes absolutely no fucking sense to me. I don't get that. I don't get why there's not guaranteed. Like, I get it in the UFC to a point, but on regional shows, you just don't have like guaranteed purses with no like win show.
they have a win show. It's just it's not a lot of money. Like
Yeah, I know. Yeah, sure. Yeah, but like, why? It's not like guys on the regional scene in North America. I mean, even in like Russia and Europe, they're put like Saladin Parnasse, right? Like he's not. Well, mostly Americans wouldn't know who he is, but he's banking like 1 million a fight in KSW. He's doing very, very well. So there's some like there's like opportunities where like you can become a name outside of the UFC, but I just don't understand why. I get why the UFC does the win bonus thing because it's like, all right, we want to motivate you to win your fight. We don't want you to be inactive. We want you to get a finish, right? So we're gonna have the bonus, which is complete bullshit, by the way, because when they introduced the bonus, all right, that bonus would be worth like $32,000 now. 50,000, you're really getting $32,000 compared to what it originally was when it was introduced, just because of inflation. So I
yeah,
think they should up the bonuses, right? Because having it be 50 grand for like 15 years just makes no sense.
yeah. Like I've won one of the bonuses. Good times. Like
Yeah.
not complaining about it, but at
Yeah.
the time, it would be nice if it was higher.
Do you think that it's a good idea for regional promotions to also do like the hey win show money? Because like I just feel like it's a little unfair because like if you're in the UFC, like a lot of people are, but it's still like it's a guaranteed money, maybe two, three fights, four fights on your con. Like it's a lot nicer than the American regionals. Why not just like say okay seven, show up for your fight, and this is your guaranteed purse. Why do show win on the regional scene?
Again, this comes back to also fighters. Fighters are also difficult. Like when I had to be firm on my like the I'll go back to like the video that we were discussing. I was a firm on 8 and 8.
Yeah,
Eight to you and I don't feel like 8 and 8 being a former UFC fighter on a 5 fight win streak. 8 and 8 isn't the most craziest ass, especially when asked, a for a tough opponent. And I will give the promotion, they did come back with a reasonable offer. Like 5-5 isn't an ungodly like reason. That is a solid reason.
yeah,
I really did consider taking it. The wifey was like, no, I want you to stay with the 8 and 8. Uh you aren't as big as you think you are. You are smaller, so you gotta consider all these real factors. If you're gonna take this fight, and let's say worst case scenario you lose, we cannot be surviving off of 5 grand.
yeah.
We make ends meet for a couple months with 8 and 8, or with 8, but we can't do a couple months with 5. It's just maybe a month or so.
Yeah. That mean to me it's just fucking like okay, but like imagine like I mean you're a coach too, so like you probably have like fighters who are like I mean like I've seen talented people, right? There's this one fight I think he's fighting again, but his name was Al Morrow, right? Super. I mean he was on some weird shit with Mike Tyson, right? Like he's I mean I'm gonna say he's a fat guy, right? But he boxes like fucking Mike Tyson. He's fast. He's quick like a cat. She was crazy. I think he got slammed in a fight. He dislocated his shoulder, and I don't think he's fought since. And that shit is it's just fucking sucks when I watch shit like that because it's like, damn, it's like, these guys are, if they were maybe paid properly, but I mean, I don't think regional promotions are making a shit like a fortune anyway. But in the UFC, it's like you could double everyone's pay and you'd still be under average compared to how much, what percent of revenue the NBA, NFL, and NHL gives. They could double everyone's pay, including McGregor, including Jones, literally double, and they would still have a less than average revenue share. I think that shit's fucking criminal. Literally criminal.
There's one also, again, a big aspect that people are not putting in. Now, don't get me wrong. I agree with everything you said. They
Yeah.
could easily bump up our pay. Even if they let's say they hit the average with every other promotion.
Yeah.
Let's say they actually get it to that 50% or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Everyone's getting paid. Uh let's not worry about all the small little things that are going to happen.
Yeah.
But the UFC has fighters in the UFC will never get NFL or NBA money at the end.
True. Very
They
true.
never will. For the simple fact is, like the LA Lakers, everyone knows who the LA Lakers are. They
Yeah.
have their own revenue stream.
Yep. Yeah. They still, yeah, of
Then
course.
then there's the revenue stream from the NBA. So I personally would like to see the numbers for like the LA Lakers versus the UFC,
True.
because
Yeah.
I feel like the UFC's value is equivalent to an NFL team right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's nowhere fucking near, like a giant sports league like that. But it's like, with that being said, it's like the actual percent that they give back, it should still be close if they want to be taken seriously. Because it is like, yeah, like a guy comes in, makes 12 and 12, especially they do it to like Brazilian guys or guys that come from like countries where it's like, it's not North American money. Like they'll give a guy like 10 for 10. Still, they'll give a guy like 10 for 10. Still, which is fucking
Yeah,
wild. Because we're in 2025, man. Like 10 for 10 ain't fucking
shit.
that's like 10 dozen eggs, right? So when you fucking offer a guy, let's just say average, maybe you come in, it's like 12 for 12, maybe that's what they're starting out at, 16 for 16. I don't know. But the difference between like making max $24,000 in your fight or 74,000 if you get a bonus, coming in and like being guaranteed, let's just say like 24,000, like if they literally doubled it, that would I still think that would be a big help because it's like how are you gonna make ends meet if you dedicate your life to MMA, you come in and let's just say they give you three fucking tough guys. You get knocked out all three times. Now your chin's gone. Now you got no other fucking skills. Like what the fuck are you supposed to do to bounce back?
Yeah, I mean,
You
my
can't even continue training at that point because it's like fuck.
what was it? My first three fights: Sergey Spivak, Justin
Yep.
Taffa, Alexander Romanov.
Yep.
I like literally the only person that I think I have fought that has not made it to the top 15 yet at one point was Chase Sherman.
Yeah, yeah. Which honestly, I mean, if you look at like the guys from like the Midwest, like there was an era where it was like you guys kind of had your own division, like Jake Collier, Chase Sherman, Parker Porter, Jeff. You guys would just scrap and with each other for like fucking. It was fucking wars. But like you and Chase Sherman specifically, you guys are getting a lot better than you were when you were in the UFC. You got killer grappling now. Chase Sherman's he would not be kind of. He's a big fuck. He's a real
Yeah,
big fuck. And he's another guy that I really like watching. So it is like just like fuck, man. But that's also the issue. It's like the division's thin. There is no bounce back fight,
yeah.
right? There's nobody there to bounce back against. You don't
Like,
got enough people there.
and it's also a weird thing because here's something that like no one will talk about or even bring up is like I don't like fighting some of the people that I get offers for. What I mean is I've gotten offers for guys that like when I fought Kent. I don't, or let me, yeah, I fought Kent. I took his O. I don't like
Yeah,
taking guys O's. Like it sounds stupid. They're like, oh, be the. I don't like doing it. If I have to, I will, but I don't like doing it. Like it's. I know it doesn't sound right about me, but me for me, I see like, hey, I'm not the fight for you because I have a higher chance of taking your O. It's like if you lose your O to a guy that's has an O, you didn't lose to a bitch. But if you
yeah.
lose to someone with my record, like especially when this guy lost to me, I like my record was like 13-11, some shit like that. It
Yeah.
wasn't a good record. So he lost to a guy with a almost a journeyman record, complete 500 record. That's not a good look for him.
Well, I mean, you gotta fucking enjoy that too, because a little, well, maybe not, but like,
Yeah,
because when you're undefeated, well, like I've talked to guys who never like you're thinking like I'll fucking if you put me in the fucking UFC right now, I'd fucking destroy the champion. I'm this you have this like the uber confidence, like when because nobody's beat you in a fight. I mean, maybe people beat you in the gym, maybe, but like you got, do you not get a little bit of sad? I've talked to other fighters. They're like, I fucking love taking guys over. So I've heard the complete opposite too.
I'm also okay. I'm also a very just kind of not a. I have to. Maybe it's like I'm not a bravado kind of dude.
Yeah,
I don't like to like. I don't need that hyper. Oh, I am all that as man. I could be. I'm like I like to fight just because I like to fight.
yeah.
And I don't care about the winning and losing as much as the most like I don't like to lose, but I like just to do the thing that I enjoy doing. I like to just fight. Like I could give two fucks about winning and losing if it means I get to punch somebody tomorrow.
That makes you a sick individual.
Yeah, but this is
But no,
also
that's all. That's a real fucking fighter's mindset. Damn, that's cool, man.
this is also the reason why like when I have a hard time turning down fights, it's a real issue because I'm like, I could care less about the money sometimes. I just want to punch people. Like, I feel like I should have never turned pro so I could just continue taking amateur fights just so I could punch everybody.
Yeah,
We'd be the only amateur record with like over 100 fights.
yeah. He said, wasn't fucking what was a little dude, I forgot his name. There's some big story. He had like 100. Makayev, I think it was. He was like 50-0 on the amateurs. I was like, God damn.
Well, Sambo's different though. Like
Yeah,
Sambo,
yeah, yeah. Some like if you look at his like the way like I see one of your fights, it's like what is it on Tapology? It's like ineligible record
yeah.
because the guy was making his debut, right? But
Mhm.
then if you look at some of these Russian guys' records, some of them is shit. It's just like it's combat sambo. It's not even fucking MMA. Like what the fuck?
Yeah, no. So yeah, like the fight that I had that was like flagged. The reason why it's flagged is because the promotion is iffy, and yes, especially at the time, was very iffy.
Yeah,
Uh, so like it's kind of hard to sit there and be like, you're wrong, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, you go through like Khabib's, you go through half of these cats from like parts of Europe and Russia, sometimes you'll see like 80% of their fights are 0-0 guys when they're
yeah.
like 10-0, 15-0. It's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's like the entire. If you ever watch ACA Young Eagles, that's like all that is. That's like
Yeah.
literally all it is. But it's just like wild to me because in boxing, like you're encouraged to do that,
Yeah. And
and
I'm just like,
that's like yeah, it is kind of crazy. Like
I,
bounce, like the sports that I mean, I wish that there was like you do got guys like what's his name, like Jay Ellis and Reese Street. You got guys like there are some fighters where I look at them or like Bob Sapp, right? There's some guys where, they're turning up to lose. There are tune-up fights in MMA,
yeah.
especially in like England and stuff. But it is fucking like super weird that these like I mean, I don't want to go on the trend of like these Dagestani guys have a little bit of privilege, but they definitely get it easier from like
I
all
wouldn't,
aspects of
I wouldn't
MMA.
say it's easier. Like, I mean, like to sit there and say, oh yeah, they only fought 0-0 guys, and then turn around and beat guys, that
Yeah,
have
true.
solid
But
records.
for every Makhachev and Habib, there's 30 fucking Muhammad, Ivanikov Ayevs who are just fucking getting washed once they actually fight, once they finally find some guy from Brazil or whatever to fight them. There's so many. I would honestly, there's probably more Russian fighters than American fighters. They're
No,
probably. You don't think so?
this okay. So because oh, I had an issue with this weekend. So a lot more fighters. I feel like especially kids around here, and I call them kids, but uh, there's a lot of people here that think they could fight. They
Yeah.
think that because they could throw hands, that they could fight anybody and everybody. I had I had a dude that a grown ass man, 30 something years old. All right. I was like, dude, you're not ready for a MMA fight. You are not capable of fighting. He was like, yes, I am. I am ready. I'm
All
like,
right.
okay, I'm gonna put you through a test. I'm like, beat these three guys. He couldn't beat the first one. All right. And I'm like, hey, you can't beat him. Now, I didn't wave this one off. I'm just like, if you can't beat this one, you can't beat the other two. Now he goes against the second guy. The second guy is an amateur fighter. Works him, like drops him. The kid goes, throws up. He's the amateur fighter is a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah.
The 30-year-old man gets dropped, throws up, crying about his nose. The match prior to that, he got really worked, and he got worked not only on the feet but on the ground. And the kid that worked him was a 13-year-old.
Wait. So the 30-year-old man was getting fucking worked by a 13-year-old child?
Dog walked.
Jesus fuck. But I mean, motherfuckers like that have been around since the existence of time. But that's just fucking goddamn, man.
Yeah.
How's their ego ever gonna bounce back after that
Oh,
shit?
no. That shit didn't fucking break.
Didn't it fucking phase them?
No.
What?
No.
So you get your ass handed to you by a middle schooler, and then you're like, fuck yeah, fuck it, I'm ready for
Yeah,
fucking UFC, dude. I am
I
ready for
told him like
UFC.
you're not ready to fight this guy. This
Oh wow.
like I know what a trained dude looks like. I'm one of them. I trained with other trained dudes, and I'm watching this guy prepare for his fight. Like I'm like, your opponent is a real fucking fighter. You're not going to dog walk him like you think you are. Oh yeah, I am. Blah blah blah. I'm like, dude, you're going to get fucked up. Sure enough, he did. He disregarded every fucking thing I said. Me and the wife.
Oh man.
Set up the fighters. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, my cat just jumped
Yeah.
in. Uh, but yeah, no, yeah, just like me, the wife, we were like, "Yo, you ain't ready for this fucking fight." And sure enough, he was like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I'm like, "All right." Sure enough, gets marked, like just disrespected by this guy. And I'm like, dude, like we told you, we told you straight up, like you weren't ready for this.
That's
And
fucking wild.
now to kind of go back to everything, it's like, can you tell like Khabib like, oh, you shouldn't have fought that guy because he wanted to fight you? No. I'm
No, I
sure
mean that's true.
I'm sure a few of those guys were like, oh, I could beat him, I could beat him. Sign me up. They get signed up, they get thrown in there, and they get their ass whipped.
Yeah.
So
But I don't understand not saying that that's an L. I mean, the fight had it was one guy with like with some fighters where it's like even in like boxing, like some guys are paid to lose, but that's not really what happens in MMA. You get like extreme mismatches, but at the end of the day, it's an MMA fight. Both guys are trying to win. How is that? How are you gonna act like it never happened? How is that ineligible? That doesn't really.
yeah,
I don't really mess with that. If you're locked in the cage and you're both trying to win, that's a fight, no?
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, you and I have also seen how many times have dudes been ranked to lose, get knocked the fuck out.
Yeah.
It's like that's why we enjoy the sport because it's like,
Yeah, man.
oh, this guy on paper should lose, gets knocked out, and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah, that shit happens all the time. I mean, that just happened, what, like 2 weeks ago with Bo Nickel? That shit happens all the time.
You know, I felt like Boyle was kind of on a hype train. Like, dude's good, but I don't think that was a shocking outcome. Like for most people, I don't think it was. After the Paul Craig fight, I'm just like that train got halted pretty hard.
I thought he was just trying to get I thought he was just trying to get rounds in against Paul Craig. I was like, all right, this guy's so good. He's just trying. I picked yeah, me everybody that I knew was like, yeah, Bo Nickal's gonna wrestle him. This guy's from one. He probably he went to war with GM3 on the feet. He probably can't strike. But then he was just like, fuck, like the levels got shown. I was like, oh man, that's what levels look like in MMA. Fuck.
Well, and I think he just got too cocky because of how good of wrestling is. Now, do I think he would have been a challenge or possibly a guy that could beat Hamzat? Hands down. I think he could still beat Hamzat. Two reasons why. Because I don't think Hamzat and him would just try to stand and bang. They would try to grapple each other. And a lot of people are like, that wouldn't happen. I bet fucking money it would because fighters' egos are massive. They are most sensitive fucking people, but we're also some of the most narcissistic people. We all believe that we could beat them at their best skill.
Yeah.
So you're going to tell me that most fighters are going to try to fight, and if they like, a good example is John Jones versus Santos.
Yeah.
John Jones could have fucked up Santos by taking him down,
Yep.
but John Jones, no. He wanted to
Yep.
play with him. He wanted to prove that he could beat him on the feet.
Which was crazy because what was Thiago Santos doing to everybody? He was kicking their legs. I think John Jones like permanently fucked up Thiago Santos's leg in that fight.
Yeah.
Like he's a fucking Jones is one of those. And by the way, just quickly, this was one of the fan questions too. Would you take Jones or would you take Aspinall?
Oh, in the fight, I'm leaning a little bit more towards Aspinall.
Me too. I was watching it. I was like Stipe. Like people don't talk about it, but Stipe did hit him a couple times. I'm like, if
Oh,
Aspinall hits you a couple times, that's different.
I hate to say this. No matter who Stipe hit, people like Stipe is sadly is going to be disrespected as not a popular heavyweight.
Yeah.
Like he was the dude that stopped Francis's hype train. He was the dude that ran through the heavyweight division.
Yeah, people don't talk about that, man. He beat Ngannou. That's pretty cool.
And I'm sorry, but okay, Jones got him what 2 3 years after his
Four-
last fight.
44 years old, coming off a knockout loss, like two
Yeah,
year
I'm
layoff.
sorry. What do you fucking do? You beat Stipe. Oh, the greatest heavy. Yeah, you. That's like fucking Bader bragging that he beat Fedor. No one gives a.
Yeah, yeah, man. Also, do you think Stipe is the greatest of all? I think he's the great. I think Fedor still got my pick, but
I'm going to lean a little bit more towards Stipe. But Fedor's definitely in conversation, and Cain Velasquez. I like
yeah, he if he had more title defenses, everybody would say Cain Velasquez. He was probably like the most. I think prime Cain Velasquez would beat the shit out of John Jones. I think prime Cain was the most scary. Like fuck that man. This dude's fucking wrestle. He's got infinite cardio. He's an NCAA wrestler, and he's throwing beautiful wheel kicks. I'm
Yeah,
not. I'm not. Yeah, man. F that.
yeah. Cain Velasquez, I think would have been another big one too.
But wrestling, I mean, your knees, they buckle, they mess up. We got just a couple more fan questions. Musical MMA wants to know if the UFC has catering. Musical MMA he's a very big guy, so he's always thinking about food. Wants to know if the UFC has catering backstage.
No,
That's fucked.
no, they'll have like because you you can't have certain foods in the backstages of a locker room through state athletic commissions.
What, allergies?
No. It's just like each state has certain rules. Most states, you're not allowed to bring certain, like, you can't bring certain liquids behind closed doors. Like, for example, if you ever watch the UFC, if you notice, they're always drinking coffee.
Yeah.
You never see anyone with an energy drink or a pre workout, and there's a reason for that. Because if they are seen with a pre workout or an energy drink, because of the caffeine, it's considered a stimulant, and seeing that is technically cheating.
You can't drink Red Bull. That's fucking
It's a
ridiculous.
stimulant. It's technically
That's fucking crazy. You can't drink like a Red Bull if you're gonna be an MMA fight. If you're gonna
technically
fight in the UFC.
you're not you're not even technically allowed to even have coffee, but because coffee is kind of one of those weird ones, that's why it gets accepted.
Dude, that's fucking ridiculous. I don't think anybody knew that, man. I don't think anybody asked like questions like that. That's fucking crazy.
This is what I say when, so like my wifey, you might hear in the background, she works with the commission. But the one thing me and her have really started talking about, because ever since she started working with the commission, you start to realize how different things are run from their side versus the fighter side. Like, she's like, oh, this fight scored this way, and here's why. And me and her, I don't agree with why she's scoring the fight this way. But she was like, oh, the fight scored this way, here's why, da 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 da. And sure enough, her and the judges, she will get most of the fights calls right, more so than I most fight fans and fighters I know.
What do you think? What do you think about what? Damn, that's what I mean. The rule, and people don't realize too, like the actual like scoring. Like you don't UFC doesn't really. It does have scoring, but it's based off of what state you're fighting in. Completely
Exactly.
different rules. What do you think about that?
They're the ABC rules, but the problem is no one truly understands the full extent of the ABC rules. Like, certain people are like, "Oh, it's based off this, this, and this," but they have exact, like when they talk about damage, depending on your experience, what's going to be more damaging, a jab to the face or a leg kick?
True. You don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if, let's say, you are a commissioner for boxing, you're going to lean more towards.
The jab, right? Yeah.
But let's say you've done Muay Thai and you've been like, I've been kicked in the leg. Fuck this.
Yeah, that shit hurts probably more
Yeah.
than a jab. But
And so
that is
that,
that is crazy to fucking. But also like it's also crazy because I thought it was scored on visible damage. Because how like that the damage thing it doesn't unless it's visible damage it doesn't make sense. Because what if you do get jabbed harder? What if your legs are fucking fine, but you get jabbed and it's stung? Like it is like almost impossible in a way. What do you think of people wanting like open scoring, AI scoring, that type of thing?
I feel like if you could do open scoring, you have to make sure the judges, or not the judges, but the officials or the fighters, or the coaches and the fighters don't find out, not the officials. Because one of the biggest flaws that I guess they had with open scoring was when it was the coaches telling the fighters. Yeah, the coaches were telling, like, if they won the first two rounds, to stall out the third.
Yeah, that's just well, yeah, that stuff's also like that's why I do like Ryzen and stuff and promotions like that, like Deep, like they'll just give you like a yellow card. So you're not fighting. They'll give you like a referee would. They'll hand out a yellow card. They'll take away a point for stalling.
Yeah,
Which I do notice that like in different commissions, like fights, they just flow better because there's different things going on that motivates fighters to just look to finish a fight, look to but and then you do see a lot of just like fights like in the Martin Budet, like not to rag on this guy anymore because I already started ragging on him, but with Martin Budet and Arlovski, right? What did Martin Budet do to win that fight
I
significantly
thought
with damage?
I thought he lost. And I want to tell you this: I do not watch fights. I
Yeah,
do not watch fights. But if I do watch fights, I tend to watch fights of fighters I have fought before or friends.
yeah.
If you ask me who's the main event of this upcoming card, I don't know, nor do I care.
Yeah.
But if I fought you, I want to see how you're doing. And okay, and out of everybody, I've always been a fan of Arlovski. I've always followed his career, even after I fought him. I always followed. So being a fan, I still watched his Bidet fight. And again, he's one of the few fighters that I followed and I have fought.
Yeah.
So I paid attention to that fight. I thought Bidet lost. I can
I
understand.
didn't. Yeah.
I can understand the split decision. I was favoring Orlowski over Bidet because of the split. I am not freaking out about it. I just thought I didn't think Bidet won that fight.
I just don't know what, like, if you look, if it's damage based score, like it's supposed to be okay, like damage, but like it's so fucking confusing because it's damage over everything else, but then if there's not significant damage, then it kind of like trickles down into other aspects of how you're supposed to score a fight. I'm just like, well, Boudet just held him against the cage. He wasn't
But
working.
but I felt like Orlowski held him more and longer on the cage.
He held, well, I don't think he held him longer, but he was working on the cage.
Yeah,
He
and,
was working, you know.
like I I think after that fight, I watched my fight against Orlowski because I'm like I felt like I beat or not. I can understand why I lost the Orlowski fight. Like I look at that one and I'm like, if I did more,
Yeah.
I could have understand me winning. But I watched my fight over the Bidet fight. I'm like, I felt like I did more than Bidet.
For sure.
I
I mean,
lost.
for sure you did more. Yeah, that shit fucking. I mean, I think Arlovski was fighting before I was born. Like I literally grew up seeing Arlovski fight, so that shit just was super annoying. Because I'm like, well, I mean, Boudet didn't really, and Boudet in his last fight looked incredible. He did great in his last one. He was kickboxing, but in that fight it was just like, well, you hold him up against the cage. You don't elbow. You're not kneeing his thigh. It's every like
I don't know
10
about his last
seconds.
fight. I think I watched his last fight against the 205 cat.
Yeah, that one I
The-
saw some improvements for sure.
I did too, but considering the dude he was fighting was a light heavyweight, took on a short notice fight.
Yeah,
I might have been called up for that fight, but I was suspended for the like because I fought the week before prior and I was under just medical suspension from my fight. I was like, motherfucker, I would have fought too.
yeah, fuck. So you want to get your fucking hands on Martin Boudet, but
Not
he
necessarily.
he would be a 205 or two. He's got
I,
a
I don't care
yeah,
who
I
I put
know.
hands on at this point. I just want to fight. I definitely think Bidet isn't as scary as some of the other heavyweights. One fight I think would be fun for him would be Waldo.
Cortez, people are sleeping on Waldo Cortez Acosta. That dude's kind of getting really good, very quickly.
I have my opinions on him.
All right, I would love to know. He just starched around in span. He just like starch span. I was like, damn. I mean,
Honestly,
you obviously are seeing like things better than I could see him because you're a
I
UFC
fought
fighter.
him. Like I fought him, and I thought I won that fight a bit more too.
You
Like
fought Acosta
yeah,
back in LFA maybe
you
or you
debut.
fought. Oh
His
shit, I
debut.
had no idea.
Yeah,
Oh shit, I
I
remember when
kicked.
Waldo was first fighting.
I
He
was.
was not the most entertaining for sure.
Oh, yeah. No, my last fight in the UFC, his first one, I kicked him. I like 78 times, some shit like that. I kicked him
Yeah,
about 78 times in that fight. I knew because I believe I was talking to his coach Javier at the end. He said he couldn't walk for a day. Then when I competed against his coach in jiu-jitsu, he said, yeah, that I believe he couldn't properly walk for over a week
damn.
after me kicking him.
Well, that's the fucking thing. Like damage based scoring. One guy's ready to go. One guy can't fucking walk for a week. But
Oh yeah.
that's very difficult. I
Oh,
don't think I watched. I mean, Waldo. Okay, there was just like a time where
oh,
When Acosta was first coming in, very safe fighter. That's
yeah.
I don't like to say boring. He's very
Well,
safe, but
well,
now he's taking risks a little bit.
watch his fight. Okay, so
Yeah,
watch my fight with Costa. Then watch his second fight with Chase Sherman.
yeah,
They were only like 3 weeks apart, maybe four. You could see Chase Sherman kick his leg in the first round. Waldo is visibly hurt by every kick. Round two, Chase stops throwing kicks. And I think round three, it goes to decision or a finish
yeah,
by Waldo. Uh, so, I mean, I think after that fight and the Rebello fight, I think the Rebello fight is what actually I think opened him up more as a fighter because he
yeah.
started grappling more.
That shit was really infuriating to watch too. The Rebels to Spain fight.
I thought the Ritz
Waldo had some, and maybe it was the other kid Rebel's fault, but it was he got his Taekwondo shut down completely. It was just I think he lost his. Well, maybe it was Austin Lane.
Oh yeah, maybe, but I know with the Waldo, he got taken down and Waldo just held control there.
Yeah, yeah,
It wasn't an exciting fight, but on a technical price, Waldo was smart on that. Played
yeah.
the part perfectly. I'm not. I thought it was a good plan on his part.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're a fighter. I'm not a pro fighter, so I'm sitting there watching it. I'm just like, get the fuck up, get up.
Yeah,
Even though obviously you got a 270-pound guy laying on top of you, he can't.
yeah,
You
and
know,
like people forget, even like people are like, oh, even the worst level guy, like he might be a white belt in gi jiu-jitsu. He knows how to fucking throw a guillotine. He knows how to throw a triangle. He just might not know how to throw a gi on. Like
yeah,
everyone knows how to like. Most fighters have a simple, basic understanding of all the martial arts, especially MMA fighters. We know how to sprawl. We know how to shoot. Do all fighters like to shoot and sprawl? No. Some are like, I like striking, and we're only going to stand and bang. But if you try to wrestle me, I'll stop it. Then there's other people who are like, let's just come to the floor.
yeah.
And yeah,
So my last question to you, because I think this is a very, very good interview. We've been going a long ass time. I don't want to take too much time out, but it was a very good interview. Last question to you. If there was one person right now, in the entire world, you could go to the fucking UFC, whatever, currently fighting. You could fight right now. What fight are you gonna take?
I don't know. Any fight, the next one. I I
That's
have
a good answer.
I have no like particular person I want to fight. I just want to like.
Does LFA go to California?
Elephant was here what 2 weeks ago, a week ago. They can't find. Every time I ask them to find me an opponent, I get a response that they can't find me as an opponent every time.
That shit's annoying. LFA's kind of like the only place where some pretty good guys at heavyweight coming up.
Well, I am a weird dude, like because again, you watch like I'm coming off a 5 fight win streak, and I've said this before earlier in this. All my fights except Chase, they were all at one point in the top 15 or higher
Yeah.
at one point in their careers.
So you're kind of like you want to fight more tenured guys.
Yeah, I'd rather fight guys that have, some experience versus again, like I said, I don't like knocking these younger cats off that are like 5-0. Like
Yeah.
you get a guy that's 5-0, and let's say he is ready for the UFC. Now he gets me. All right. I beat him. Is that necessarily fair to have him wait 3, 4 more fights before he gets paid decent, before he, gets any,
Yeah, that's
possible.
true. That's
Like that
true.
that's a big reason why I'm not a big fan of fighting these younger cats. I'd rather them, get their coming ups when they get it, and I don't want to be the dude that fucks it up. I rather if I be a dude that's like with something with my record, the setback isn't going to be as bad or as hard. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, don't get me wrong. If I lose another fight in the regional scene, any possibility of my UFC goals go out the door. I know this, but I also have my own gym. I could take over, put my full focus into my business and stuff like that. Like I have the safety net at this point because I've done it so long.
Yeah.
So I'd rather fight someone that has their safety net than some of these younger cats that are banking on this big show to be there for them. And then yeah, I get that they're going to run into the hard dudes, but I would rather save those moments for actual money.
That's a very good point because it like just when you're fighting up in North America, I mean, or anywhere, just because heavyweight's not that deep, like you're going up against, your the other young dudes. There's not a lot of Jared Vandeeras really in America anymore, right?
Yeah,
We're kind of in a lack of just guys to fight at bigger weight classes because like you said, they would rather do. I mean, even if you're a big guy, like why the fuck you can just work? Why the fuck even do MMA? Like if you're not even doing another sport, or if
but
you like, why even do it? Like a
yeah,
lot of guys are just looking in. If you are a fighter, you gotta love fighting. That's kind of it, right?
yeah, and look at all the little guys. Like I have so many friends that they'll get either to the UFC or they'll just get right there. They'll do the contender series. Look at the drop off of many fighters once they get to the UFC or the contender series and they lose. The
Yeah,
drop off is so like substantial. And a
yeah.
lot of guys won't even try to rebuild themselves back up because they know how hard it is to do it. They're gonna go back to shit fucking pay for fucking nothing.
Yeah, you see, I was just looking at some. There's this one guy. He got like a split on. He won. He won on Dana White's Contender Series. Like he won the fight. Dana. It wasn't the most exciting fight. Dana didn't want to take him. By the way, did you meet Dana? Like, what are your experiences like meeting Dana White, or did you?
I've met him two or three times. I would say he is kind of as you would expect.
All right,
Well, like
kind
he
of
was
like.
rude. He wasn't a dick. He was Dana White.
Yeah,
Like you're going to most likely meet that man. Like he seems like someone you could actually talk to, but he also seems like he's very firm in what he says. Like I said, you'd meet him, you would expect that kind of man. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. But yeah, and that was interesting because you see some people like Mark Hunt and a lot of guys are just like, oh fuck, Mark Hunt's like on his anti Dana White spree, and you see a lot of guys like that. But it is interesting talking to a guy who's just like right there, like not too long ago, you know. But I saw this kid, he won on Dana White's Contender Series, and then he didn't get signed, so he's just like, fuck it, I gotta retire now.
Yeah,
What else? What could I do? And that shit's definitely sad.
yeah.
That shit sucks.
Like go like if we go back to the money thing, I think the moment the UFC ups the starting pay, it's going to up the starting pay on the regional scenes.
Maybe. Yeah.
Well, see, the I think half the issue is you got the UFC getting away with paying high level fighters just 10 and 10.
Yeah.
Think about it. If I am paying for the best, like or not for the best, but a solid mid tier,
Like a guy that's a great fighter and like a fighter that's like you see that in like Brazilian fighters like Vinicius Oliveira, fucking monster. I think his starting contract is like 12 and 12 because one of the commissions releases. I know that they have like undisclosed pay too sometimes,
yeah,
but one of the commissions releases disclosed pay. I'm like, fuck, that dude's a monster, and he's on a 12-12 contract. Like, fuck that, man. That's insane. Because
Yeah,
you could afford to do so much better
yeah,
from the
exactly.
UFC's part.
Like I'm not the biggest fan of him, but he brought up a good point a while back was O'Malley.
Yeah,
When O'Malley was fighting, lower tier guys in a sense, people are like, why aren't you fighting a rank 10 guy? He's like, am I going to get rank 10 pay? No. Then I'm fighting non-ranked guys for non-ranked pay.
yeah, yeah. That's
And
fucking smart too.
like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of him, but I'm like, that's a solid statement. And I think that's something that kids need to understand. It's like, if you get to take those big fights, do it for the right reasons. Don't just take the big fights because you can.
Yeah, but you see a lot of people. I mean, I'm not gonna. I mean, there are guys you could see them. I know that's one. Who did he? I mean, I don't remember what the fight was, but Neil Magny just fought him. Not. I mean, maybe in the last 5 years, but it was like he didn't. You shouldn't have been getting a ranked fighter. But it was like it was short notice, so he just took the fight. And obviously, like you think anybody is gonna be like, I'm ready for like if you're come on, because you're confident, you're a pro fighter. So you're like, I'm ready for the top 15, I'm ready. But I think guys should, let themselves develop until they're in a position where if they lose, it's not the end of your career.
Yeah.
But
And
also, it's like with the O'Malley thing, it's like at this point, it's like I don't fuck with the why can't you have your own sponsors? Like that shit doesn't make sense to me either. Like that this just makes no sense because it was like I think it was Anthony Pettis fighting championship. They had like they had like here we'll put you it was like Mark Chewinski or some shit. I don't remember if it was Mark Chewinski, but he was like here sponsor you could come on my shorts main logo is like $5,000. Just like, what the fuck? I was like, what? I was like, what the fuck? To be on a APFC card, you're gonna like sponsors is like another reason why you're seeing bigger guys not enter MMA because Venom to like and that's another thing with like the tenured contracts. Venom Arlovski made 250,000, but also compliance bonuses. He got a shit ton of money.
I actually I made I was I I was making pretty good money off of just the Venom products alone myself.
Yeah,
I, because I've had 6 fights with them. So I'm on a higher tier than some of I was a higher tier than some of my other friends when I joined Kings. Uh we Some of them were like, "Oh, I'm only getting 45 from Venom." I'm like, "I'm getting like 6, I think."
damn.
Like my last fight with them. They were like, "How?" I'm like, "I fought like 5, 6 times with Venom."
Arlovski was like when you get to a certain point, it like keeps doubling. Arlovski was like at like that point where he's like has an infinite fucking money glitch fighting in the UFC. His compliance pay was something just fucking ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
It was like, I mean, I don't remember the exact number, but it was probably I think it was like 50 grand or above
Oh yeah. Something
for
like that.
compliance play, which is
I,
crazy.
I
But
had
at the same time, what do you make? I think you make what when you first do the compliance pay. It's kind of like shit, right? When you first get in there.
4,500.
Now, if a guy in Anthony Pettis Fighting Championship is making $5,000 on his main logo on his trunks, right? Or I mean 5,000 total because I know it's just like a guy could come into the UFC, especially Americans that speak English that could appeal, right? You can make a lot of money off of sponsors. I hate the Venom
Yeah,
shorts. You
not
don't think so?
necessarily true. No. Want to know how much money I made off of sponsors in my last 5 fights?
How much? Zero.
Yeah.
Well, I mean that's fucking wild. When that's wild to me because you were a fucking UFC fighter. You should be like I don't understand why. I would think like a guy like you would be very valuable. Let's just say like PF like why is PFL not fucking begging for fucking Jared? I mean they signed all the like Rodrigo Nascimento coming off of a loss. Those signed you coming off of a loss. Like, why is PFL not reaching out to an like I don't get a lot of MMA. There must be just shit behind the scenes. It's so
That
ridiculously incomprehensible to me that I would just never understand it because why are you not filling up your roster with guys that could talk guys that, are on win streaks, have some name value. Why is that not, entertaining? Why is that not your priority?
I mean, I also with PFL, I have at turns have shot myself in the foot a few times with them. So there could be that.
All right.
Uh, I've had a issue with one of their higher ups. Uh,
Yeah, I've heard that. I've talked to not a lot of fighters, right? Because I'm just DMing people. I'm just getting stories, whatever. I've heard that, and people that I'm friends with that do interviews have heard. I don't even want to know what's going on there. Maybe the GFL is the place to go
well, that's when they start their show.
if
Uh,
if they start their show.
yeah, and their first show was supposed to happen last weekend.
Yep.
Uh, that card got scrapped. Their card in June was supposed to happen. That got scrapped. Hopefully, their one in July kicks off. But even then, I'm not understanding the concept behind it. Like it sounds like they're trying to make a football league or like a team
I'll tell
based.
you right now. Tell you right now. I have a friend, okay? Well, not a friend, but I know someone who just has inside information. He works in the GFL or I don't even know what he does with the GFL. The draft was completely fake, right? So I don't get the fucking point of that.
Yeah.
The draft was fake, right? So what the fuck is the appeal to how are you gonna pay these guys Weidman, Rockhold? These guys are on massive contracts. How are you possibly going to profit? How are you possibly going to profit?
Well, so do you know how big the arenas are for PFL?
No, I don't.
Okay, so the UFC, their arenas, correct? They fill them up. People go watch them. They
Super
get
overpriced tickets, but yeah.
yeah. Now PFL, their shows are actually a lot fucking smaller. They're not in massive. They're in arenas, but they try to make everything so technological advanced that if you actually look at arenas, they're not much bigger than the Apex.
Damn, that's fucking not much bigger than the Apex. That's
Like
very unexpected.
like for me, what I've seen every time is they're bigger than the average regional show, but not by much. Like you get fans, but you're not getting people that are just spilling into it. And if you notice, you don't they don't pan into a bunch of the fans like they do in the UFC. Like when you're waiting, they'll show you fans, like fucking thousands of fucking fans, right? Do you see that with PFL? No, they don't have like hundreds of people coming to like. Whereas GFL, that's what they're planning on doing is putting these really big names in like Weidman, and people are like, oh, I know Weidman. You're going to get these household names that are actually going to attract people to come see them. And then you're going to get those smaller, less known folks in on the show. And
Yeah.
you're going to not make you're going to make your money off of them, not your Weidmans.
Yeah, but I mean, it just to me it just seems impossible to for that company to unless they find like a investor.
Well, that's what that I heard they had a good investor from
Fell
that.
through.
I I don't know. I've heard they had a big investment. Um, God, cat. Um, so from there, I don't know what they have. I just know they had money, and something happened where they canceled these two shows, and hopefully they could bounce back on the third one because if you could get a a big player like GFL to like shake things up for the UFC or possibly PFL, it might increase overall the benefits of fighters.
Yeah, like a lot of people are like, I mean, a lot of people didn't like PFL because they didn't have elbows. It wasn't having a lot of great fights. But, now PFL, I mean, they smartened up a lot. They're doing tournaments. which I think is a lot better than the weird fucking like the point system. I hate that shit. You should just win your fucking fight. You know, now you got to be worried about when you not like what because okay, I mean whatever. You know, they fixed that issue at least, but now it's like Francis Ngannou is making 10 million, his opponent is guaranteed 2 million. Then you gotta, you know, market that like it's just it seems like they've dug themselves like a fucking grave, you know,
Yeah.
and that just sucks because young like it's a good it's I kind of hate that they took Bellator out.
Uh well, GFL, the one of the he's one of the owners of GFL is a former owner of PFL.
All right,
So
I
there's
mean
hope,
that's cool.
so hopefully that will help out. And I'm sure you're going to start seeing some of the remnants of Bellator like people make their way to GFL too. So
And UFC too, you know, to be, you know, Pico and Pitbull and all those guys, maybe Nemkov, all those guys are just like kind of slowly migrating over because PFL one shit like you know I just the only issue with things like that it's like when you sign an exclusive contract and it's not the UFC like it's pretty chaotic because a lot of those guys weren't getting fights when they should have been.
oh yeah. No, there's one promotion here in California that I will not sign to fight with them because they don't even have a UFC out clause.
A lot, yeah, a lot of those. Yeah, I just heard about that for the first time. Like the UFC out clause, like if the UFC want to pick you, like I don't get why there's exclusive contracts at all with regional shows. But the UFC out clause, if I'm correct, it's where if the UFC wants to swoop you up, you know, short notice or something, like you're good to go do that, right?
Yeah, yeah. There's one promotion that does not have it, and I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm not going to bank on your $1,000 to be passed up for $10,000. Fuck you. You know?
Why would why though? Why is that even a fucking why are you I just don't understand what benefits you have as a promotion not offering a UFC because then you're gonna just be like, oh, former fucking regional slug scumbag promotion owner fighter has now graduated to the UFC. Like do that. You know, you gotta market your fighters. I don't know, but that's just the entire fucking story you told about like the regional promoter or whatever, being like, hey, because so they all, and that's crazy to me. So would the guy just not take a 5 round fight, or was it the
No,
promotion?
the promotion wouldn't give me the title fight. And because they wouldn't give me the title fight plus the money, I was just like, you can't meet me anyway. You can't give me the title. You can't give me my pay. I'm not taking the fight. Now, but I do think if I did approach it with, hey, can you at least give me a 5 round fight? We might have a slightly different conversation. Maybe not by much, though.
Yeah, that's understandable. But you know, this is a lot of insight. You know, you taught me a lot of things. Like I had no idea. I had no idea about that fuck. You can't even drink Red Bull when
Yeah.
you can't even. I had no idea about that stimulant thing. Very nice talking to you, Mr. Vandera. This has been like a 2 hour interview almost, which
Oh,
I
shit.
didn't realize. Yeah,
Oh, shit. I have a
yeah, I didn't
kid.
realize that. Yeah, so but thank you so much for coming on. And do you have any crypto, anything, any rug pulls you want to plug or anything?
No, no, you can find me on all the social medias under Jared Vandeera.
I'll put yours in the bio. Thank you so much for coming on, sir. Have a very good rest of your day.
All right. So thank you for having me.
Yep, yes, sir.
All
All
right.
right, let me stop the recording.